Welcome to the VetSOS. I haven't seen you dance in a while. All right, Keith. Welcome to the VetSOS podcast. Remember, don't drown to see a transition. Grab the VetSOS lifeline. VetSOS is brought to you by the Who You Know Network and a proud member of the Parade Deck community. We can also now be heard on Reach Across America Radio on Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern. You can find Reach Across America Radio on iHeart, Odyssey, and the TuneIn app. Today, we have one of my good friends, Jose Velazquez, with us on the show. He's here to talk about his company, Velazquez Media Consulting, and some of the other things he has his hands into to assist our community with the transition process. It's going to be a fun conversation. Can't wait to get into it. But first, Keith, back here with you. How's it going, brother?
I am blessed, brother. Living the dream, dancing it up. Yeah, no, it's a good time. We're well into football season. Go Bills! And yeah, it's great to be here.
Oh, here we go. Now we're going to start trash talking because of teams. All right. All right, so let's jump into this. We got Jose Velazquez, served 30-year career in uniform and completed his service as the regimental sergeant major of Army Public Affairs for the U.S. Army. He's a lifetime broadcaster who anchored the Army's award-winning flagship newscast. He founded Velazquez Media Consulting in 2020 to help transitioning service members and military spouses learn to use digital networking to reach their employment goals as an industry-recognized certified digital networking coach. He is a Maxwell Leadership certified DISC consultant and a board member of the Leader Transition Institute. He is also the organization's director of communications. Jose is a featured writer and speaker. He also hosts a nationally syndicated radio program, runs a successful YouTube channel, and hosts various live online events. It's quite a bit, and just two of those things are things that I'm involved with as well, being on the Maxwell Leadership team and also being a big fan of the Leader Transition Institute and the programs they're running. And that's actually how we met originally, Jose, was through one of those classes. So how you doing today, brother?
I'm doing great. I don't know how long I can go with this interview if Keith is a Bills fan. Hey, Keith, we had our I'm a Patriots fan. We had our 20 years, so we had our 20 years. So I'll give you
exactly.
that.
Yeah. Let us have some of that time back now.
It's your turn. It's your turn.
I don't know if it's our turn. I don't know. But anyway, we'll digress.
I am not a NFL fan. I've been very open about that. But I will say that one of my favorite all-time commercials is the Snickers Bills commercial. With not going anywhere for a while. We're not leaving until we figure out how to win one of these.
That was a great one.
Thing about the Bills Mafias, we can at least laugh at ourselves, right? So,
yeah. and we've all had our years, right? I mean, New England Patriots were horrible for a lot of years because my dad's from Massachusetts. I grew up watching the Patriots and the Red Sox. I still remember Bill Buckner.
Look, man, we had our share of disappointments, man. I'll tell you, everybody thinks the Patriots were just that 20-year time frame, and surely those were the days I'll remember. But I remember sitting in bleachers, the Patriots trying to beat, junior high school teams and, maybe not do so well in scrimmages. So
yep.
I'll take what we got, which is better than, most teams. And now we're moving into a new direction, and I'm excited about that. You support the team.
Exactly. And I got to say, I at least have a soft spot for the Red Sox because as a Mets fan, I also equally hate the Yankees just as much as y'all do. So.
Yankees. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my God. Hey, guys, thank you so much for the invitation to come here and spend some time with you. Sean, I'm so excited to be here with you because, as you noted, we became fast friends when we participated in one of the Leader Transition Institute programs. And so I'm, really excited. And we got a chance to meet in person at the Military Influencer Conference, which I don't know if you're planning on going to the next one. But if you are, we'll see you there. And Keith, I don't know if you go to those events, but if you do, I'm really looking forward to meeting you as well.
Yep,
so
I'll be there.
Yeah, awesome, man. I'm looking forward to it, and we'll have some fun. But again, thank you for the opportunity to spend some time with you, and I hope I can share something that's a benefit to to somebody who's listening to us today.
I have no doubt you will. Yeah, we'll be there. We'll be doing a live podcast again. Hopefully we cement our guest here pretty soon. But that's beside the fact. But no, it should be another great event, and definitely looking forward to seeing everybody again and hopefully meeting a few new people. So
yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's start with your transition. How did your transition out of the military go?
Well, like a lot of people, I ended up transitioning during the pandemic, which was an experience unto itself. It was the fanfare was somewhat gone. There were 10 people in the room, socially distanced, and that included my guest, my spouse, who was the only person in the room. Everybody else was on a computer screen, listening in on a Teams. And so, that surely didn't seem very personal, but it was personal in that a lot of people tuned in from my entire career. And the people in the room were incredibly special to me. And so, for that, I'm incredibly grateful. And it was surely a unique experience, but definitely an interesting time to transition, to leave where I was. I was in the Washington, D.C. area, and I knew I wanted a slower pace of life. Even based off of everything you talked about, it sounds like I'm super busy, but it's all fractional. So I'm, very careful with my time these days. But what I will say is I just wanted to get out of the DC area so that I could live at my own pace in an area that was comfortable for me based off of my goals, of course. And so I left the DC area in the middle of the pandemic and moved about 45 minutes west of Richmond, Virginia, and have been very, very happy here. And although I miss the friendships up in DC, I don't necessarily miss the Pentagon.
That's the best time of year in DC right now, isn't it? With the election season going on.
Oh, that's the best. Everybody's so happy. Everybody loves everybody. It's just holding hands and just twiddling along.
So transitioning during COVID, though, did aside from having the social distance and everything, did you have any issues, actually doing the transition process?
Well, there were some logistical issues, when it came to the transition, hiring our heroes program, some of the things, and it wasn't by anyone's fault. It was just what it was. But because of my background in public affairs, which was my field in the military and broadcasting, there just aren't that many jobs in that field. And once people get into those jobs, they stay there until, they're carted off in a wheeled bed, on their way to the hospital for their last, and so, that's the only way you're going to get a job in many of these places. And so I recognized that. I knew that was going to occur. And so some of the opportunities that were presented to me were just kind of the generic opportunities that are presented to everybody. They weren't of interest to me. And so I gave up my space to somebody else who, could benefit from it, that had a field that, was much more likely to get a job after the military with that. But thankfully, I met a series of people, Michael Quinn over at Higher Military, who actually helped me by creating the program that I became certified in to help people in transition. I really learned a lot about LinkedIn and understood its value very early on in my transition. I grew my network, and that network provided me incredible opportunities to learn, grow, and also to give back, both as a paid employee, or I should say paid contract company owner, but in addition, just jumping on the DMs with people and helping them as they were transitioning. I probably give my program away more than I actually should, but if it's a veteran, I got a soft spot, so I give them what they need to be successful.
Understandable, definitely understandable. Okay, so you alluded to the certification. I'm assuming you're talking about the certified digital networking coach.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So before we jump into your media consulting, tell us a little bit about that program. Like, what kind of things were you learning there?
Yeah, well, I think when I was leaving the service, Michael Quinn, who's was the owner, founder, the CEO of Higher Military, which was a program that was really the catch-all umbrella at the time for a series of other programs. It is now Tenova, which is the larger umbrella, but that's neither here nor there. But Mike was really instrumental in bringing together a group of predominantly a bunch of old sergeant majors and a couple of warrant officers, and I think one retired major. We all came together. We were like, all right, what do people need, as they transition? What don't we know that we wish we knew 6 months ago? What don't we know that we wish we knew 12 months ago? and how can we help others figure it out? The military had the COOL program, or I should say the Army did, the COOL program, the credentialing program. And we knew that service members could take advantage of the program that Mike put together if we could get into that credentialing program. That would allow service members to use military money and not out of their own pocket to learn a very formal and structured set of workshops so that they could use LinkedIn to network, to find employment, to figure out who they were. Because by the way, transition is not an event. As you guys know, transition is a process. And so not everybody takes their uniform off and knows exactly who they are the day after they leave the uniform behind. So anyway, getting the certification really helped me create an official presence, feel comfortable that what I was sharing with people was best practices, standardized best practices, approved by both LinkedIn and the digital networking professional program, which was under Tenova and under Higher Military. So that really helped me be able to feel confident that what I was sharing with people was useful.
Outstanding. So it sounds like you did a lot of the right moves anyway, doing the certifications and things like that as you're prepared to go.
Yeah.
It definitely an impressive story, Keith, for someone who did it during COVID.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I actually dodged a bullet there. I got out right before COVID hit. So I landed on my feet and then everything went to crap and shut down on us. So yeah, no. And really, and I think just if anything else, they're all the stronger for it, right? And the experiences that you endured and the challenges and all that, it just equips you even better to give back to the community. I mean, we actually had an interview with Dr. Crane last week. Same kind of concept we were talking about. It's those of us that faced a lot more adversity in our transition it's equipped us to give back to this community and it's given us the heart to give back too. So with that said, I'm dying to know. So like Velazquez Media Consulting, tell us about it. What is it, and what benefits can service members gain from it?
Absolutely. So there are really two ends of what I do. So when I got out and I began to get the certifications, began to train people, and began to get paid for it as kind of an outside consultant, if you will, to Higher Military, one of the things that I learned about was starting my own business and the benefits of having a business covering that incoming flow of money, how many service members were using an opportunity in transition to start their own small companies. And the county I live in and the state I live in are actually very entrepreneur friendly. And so I took advantage of that and I jumped in, with both feet. And while if you had asked me the day I left the military, will you ever own your own business? I would have just laughed and laughed and laughed. I did not want to have anything to do with owning my own business. 6 months later, I was like, I can't imagine doing it any other way. And so while there were tax advantages to the business, more importantly, it allowed me to develop a structure. So on the B2B side, the business to business side, I developed a formal, contract structure with Higher Military, Tenova, same thing. And so that I was able to receive students from them and have a formal relationship and transactions. But in addition to that, it gave me the opportunity to then formalize a structure so that I could begin to develop relationships, whether those be veterans in transitions, military spouses, I should say service members in transition, military spouses, and then veterans, many of whom had been out of the military for quite a while, but they were still trying to figure out, how do I do this thing? How do I network? And of course, as Keith noted, all of a sudden we were all thrust into this pandemic and trying to figure out how to network when you couldn't go to the local community center or the local whatever and shake hands, the Chamber of Commerce, and meet people and introduce yourself and, pass a resume around and, look into people's eyes. And so all of a sudden we had to figure out how to do it, but how to do it in a way that, that our limited capabilities could foresee. And so Velazquez Media Consulting allowed me to do that. And then finally, in addition to those two things, I was able to consider smaller nonprofits and smaller companies and recognize that my background in public affairs was a background. It's expensive to have a public affairs person on staff. And so a lot of smaller companies just don't have the ability to bring someone on staff full time. And I said, well, how about fractional? How about if, maybe I work for your company for either a short time, or I can, provide you an hour a week, 2 hours a week, just really depending on, the agreement that we would come together about. But that allowed me the opportunity then to break down my days, to commit to different organizations, only as many as I could handle, so that I could make sure that I did the right thing for each one of them. But that really helped me help others, especially in the nonprofit world. I love giving back, and many of those nonprofits supported veterans. So I was always happy to do that.
That's fantastic. So when you bring in a client, all right. So as a veteran, I'm getting ready to transition out of the military.
Right.
Or I'm not a veteran yet, I guess. Transition out of the military and getting ready to do everything. And I reach out to you. What's that look like? What process are you taking me through? What's the cost to me? All those good things.
Yeah. Well, usually what we'll do is, someone will reach out to me or will be introduced to me by someone else. Yeah. And, what I'll usually do is a short discovery call, just trying to figure out what it is they need. Because sometimes we have so much to offer and the person really just needs a certain thing. And so I kind of help them figure that out, what it is that they need. Happy to do a short review with them on their page. And then I can present them with either individual training if they need it, or sometimes we'll do some group training where it's less expensive, of course. Well, I'll bring in 10, 20 people into a Zoom call, pop up my screen, and then go over either people's individual pages or best practices off of my own page and discuss how they can change their pages to meet the expectations and their desires. And so I hate to not have a specific number because depends for me, when it comes to the veterans, the service members in transition and military spouses, I do have kind of a scale chart, depending on kind of what ranks they were. And that goes all the way from really spending, again, more time than I should as a business owner, helping, a young service member, go over the four pillars that I talk about. And I'm happy to share what those are with you in just a second. But I will either break those down and spend a little time on each one, or again, bring people in together and then, produce either a paid for program or just a general kind of, tips and, tricks kind of thing, wave tops. So it really depends on the service member or the military spouse. I'm very military spouse friendly because, who doesn't have difficulty in that transition, right? Yep. A lot of service members forget about their spouse and their families. It drives me nuts. Because transition is a team sport. If you're married or you had children or you have a significant other, and when you forget about them, you are, and so many of us do, we go to the transition assistance program by ourselves. We don't even think about bringing our spouse with us, who, by the way, has a gazillion questions that we would never even think of because we're in, I got to get a job mode. That's it. I got to get a job. We don't think about kids' school. We don't always think about, a lot of what we would consider after the fact. Yeah, well, I don't know why I didn't think about that. Where am I going to live? How far is the drive? How far away is the veterinarian for the dog? Are there good schools here? Is it going to be a good neighborhood? Are we going to be close to family? Medical centers, all that kind of stuff. Sometimes you don't, and it's not intentional. You just don't think about that kind of stuff because when we're in the military, it's just taken care of for us, right? Your friends are given to you. You go to a new organization and you might have people that you like more than others, but your friend group is solidified the day you show up at the office, right? Your colleague group, your location, the medical services that your family gets, that starts the day you show up at a new installation. But all of a sudden you have to be responsible for all of that. So I am very friendly to military spouses and supporting them as well in their transition. But ultimately, again, it's somewhat of a sliding scale. But for major businesses, for example, a lot of them will have a program where, once a year they'll do kind of their annual training, kind of like the military does. And some of it is, everything from kind of inspirational teaching to some actual nuts and bolts HR kind of stuff. So, of course, all the general training that people have to do to meet all the requirements, their regulatory requirements. But many times they want people to learn about LinkedIn and its services and how people can benefit from them, not necessarily to go get another job. They don't want everybody to leave, but amazingly, LinkedIn is much more than that. And when they learn to use it for growth, for building professional relationships, all of a sudden, the program is really beneficial to the benefit of the organization. And so for those, I charge as, it depends, right, on the organization, but, it can be as much as $2,000, for a day, or, sometimes half a day. It depends on how many people they're bringing in. And that's fair. That's market value for people who are doing in-depth training. No joke. Literally popping things up on the screen and walking people through profiles, walking people through networking, not just in theory, but in actual practice.
Not in theory. That's what I like that.
Yeah, people love to talk platitudes, and I do too. Old Sergeant Major, right? I'll just stand here and talk platitudes. But I'd rather show you what buttons to push and what you probably should say, what's most successful. I think more people enjoy that and get more out of that than, Jose talking about the old days.
And staying off the grass.
Yeah. By the way, I said that number, that's a corporate number. Please no, I would never ask a service member to pay that kind of money. And to be honest with you, what money I do charge service members, and this is interesting, right? I don't know if you guys have had another guest who's told you this already, but we're babied in the Army or in the service. Everything's given to us. If it needs to be done, someone tells you to do it, right? And it's free, but you're forced to do it because somebody told you. But all of a sudden in transition, nobody forces you to do anything, and you sort of expect it to be free. And what happens a lot of times is if you give a course away for free, people will sign up and then they just won't show up. They just won't show up. They're like, whatever, I'll go off and do something else. And so I'm left on a Zoom call by myself, having scheduled time that, is valuable. Our time is valuable, all of us, right? And what I found is if I charge a little bit, just really a nominal fee, people show up because now they got skin in the game. Yeah.
And we've heard that before. And that's the thing. We don't discriminate one way or the other here on the podcast. For us, it's all about bringing those resources forward. Absolutely. It's up to the audience to decide what resources they want to use. We just want to let them know what's available out there. And, sometimes there's a lot of truth and you get what you pay for. Yeah. And, but, that there are some great free resources and some great paid resources. Absolutely. You just got to figure out what's best for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's all about showing up, right? If you're the service member in transition, then it's incumbent on you to prepare yourself. Listening to this podcast, for example, this is part of preparing yourself. So I'm
hopefully a lot of people are listening.
They are.
So real quick, let's jump into LTI for a minute. You started a segment with them. I know you're the director of communications, and you've been doing a lot of great things with them, and I'm a huge fan of it. I've openly said many times it was the number one program I did coming out of the military that helped me the most. But you're doing some LinkedIn Lives through LTI. And so tell us a little bit about that. What are you doing with that, and how's that benefiting people in transition?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. And you're just like you, LTI was the most important program that I participated in transition, because too few of us, again, don't know where the uniform stops and we start. And the longer we were in service, the harder it is. It's kind of like that Shawshank Redemption movie. The guy doesn't know how to exist in the civilian service. You become institutionalized. And after 30 years, I surely didn't know where the uniform stopped. So LTI, definitely props to them and anybody that wants to participate in their changing focus, moving from we to me program. But LTI overall has a lot more to offer. And one of the things that the CEO, Annie Brock, and I talked about and put together was LinkedIn Live audios were becoming more and more popular. And really what they are an opportunity for a couple of hosts, well, however many hosts you want, kind of in the old clubhouse style, where you have a couple of hosts. They'll basically turn on the microphones in a particular room, invite people into it, and talk about a particular subject. Bring people up on stage if they would. Stage is just a term, right? But bring people up to speak, and then people can share their thoughts, ask a question, continue whatever conversation we've got going, and then they can either break back down into what we call the audience. Again, it's just a term, but what happens with that is that we can share information, we can network. People a lot of service members are very uncomfortable networking because understandably we're taught enough times, right, during annual training that everybody's trying to get us online, right? There's always the scammer on the other side of the planet, and there is. But if you're going to stretch yourself out on LinkedIn and find a network, you have to network. You have to be willing to send people connection requests. And what a better place than somewhere where you have an interest in the topic, you're already in the room, and you can willingly network, send connection requests, and even DM with people while you're still listening, which is one of the really effective things about the LinkedIn live audios. Now, we do LinkedIn videos as well, live videos. Those are incredibly fun. We're looking at the camera and engaging with people, kind of like we're doing here, right? And people can ask questions and comment, and we can respond to them. But surely, when you're responding, now I'm looking over here somewhere, typing, and I'm not paying attention to the people in front of me. When we've got the live audios, hey, look, if you got curlers in your hair, if you got a T-shirt that's kind of hanging because you've been wearing it about 14 days and it's hanging down that far, that's fine. We're all welcome in those groups, and people feel a lot more comfortable. And so we've gotten a lot of benefit out of those, and hopefully others have as well. We talk about everything. We talk about leadership development. We talk about teamwork. We talk about, growing either entrepreneurial. We talk about federal government. We talk about, again, leadership growth. We talk about all these items that help people grow, that help people understand the various cultures. And that way they can not only network, but find the right people that will help them get to where they want to go. So LinkedIn live audios are a great thing. Are they the end all be all? No, they're just part of a larger strategy. Yeah. But it's a great place. It's a great place to just talk with people and have a great conversation.
Do you guys have a set schedule? Like every...
Yeah, we go on the air. We just started season 2 yesterday, which for anyone who's listening to this later, yesterday would have been September 6th. 2 days ago, September 5th, 2024. And so we go every Thursday at noon Eastern time. And, you are welcome to go to the Leader Transition Institute page. And usually the link is posted to the event. And you can either RSVP previously by just clicking on a button. And all that does is it's basically a reminder, send you an email reminder. And then if not, you can just, the day of the event, if you took note of it, you can just hit the button and it'll allow you to join right on the spot. Again, nice. You don't have to get on. You can have crazy hair that day, or you can be in your vehicle. I'm really surprised at how many people are out in the car eating a tuna sandwich, listening in and enjoying, a great conversation and interacting with people. I'm always upset because I'm like, man, I like tuna fish, so I'd like to have a piece of that. But I'm glad they're listening to us.
Okay. Well, Keith, we're coming down to the end already, and we need to end it before I ask Jose whether or not he's wearing pants today, after all the talk about what people are wearing during the shows.
Pants? What? Just underwear.
Hey, I didn't know I had to wear any, but anyway, that's why I'm standing. I don't want to have it in my chair. But anyway, no, it was great having you on here, Jose. And so many truth bombs were dropped on this episode. This is awesome stuff. I mean, yeah, the digital brand, right? It's absolutely, the brand period, but, creating a brand for ourselves, but especially in that digital side, especially in today's global environment. So no, great stuff. So with that said, for all our listeners out there that they're like, hey, I need to be checking this out, how do folks get in touch with you?
Yeah, they can likely the best way is right there at the bottom of the screen. Feel free to reach out to me, connect with me, and send me a DM. Let's talk about, what it is that you need help with on your LinkedIn profile or just a network. I'm always happy to make introductions. with people that are in transition or recently transitioned. If you're an HR person looking for HR people in a certain place, I probably know a guy. And so let me help you reach out to the right people so that you can, benefit from those relationships. You're on your own on creating the relationship, but at least I can make those introductions. And we can talk about other things. We can talk about how to build your profile, how to engage, how to build a network that's intentional. We can talk about all those other things and whether or not you need my formal services or whether we can just, shoot the for a little while and you can pick up some things.
Awesome. Yeah, really appreciate having you on here, Jose. Thanks for taking the time to join us. On behalf of the Vet SOS family, we'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. Make sure to follow and subscribe to us on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms. And remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the Vet SOS Lifeline.